Civic tech. It's not necessarily a phrase that springs to mind when you think about blockchain, really, is it? But it might just be one of the most important debates about blockchain's usage right now. Let's talk about why with Clara Tsao, who's founding officer and director at the Filecoin Foundation. Clara, thanks for talking to us. Listen, you've got an extensive background of working closely with governing, rule-making bodies from a lot of different places. Why did you move away from that? Why get involved in what the Filecoin Foundation is doing?
Yeah, I would say there's actually more alike than different between the two worlds. So much of what happens in civic tech and civic innovation is very much understanding governance for access to information by people, and it's no different in what we're doing at the foundation, where we're trying to think about preserving humanity's most important information, but also making sure that everyone around the world can actually access digital assets that they deserve to access this democracy. And in fact, there's a lot of connective tissue still that we're doing that is overlapping the two worlds, right? So when people today think about issues like open data, they forget that data actually isn't truly open, even if they belong to governments, if they have the chance of being manipulated. This happens a lot overseas if there's authoritarian regimes where citizens may not actually be able to trust the government that they're part of. And this is an issue that over the last decade, we've seen so many countries face over what is really data integrity. And so a lot of what we're trying to do right now is really preserve public information like open data so that citizens can always access it at any point in time. So I think there's actually so much more overlap than differences, even though I think to outside observers, the two worlds might seem completely separate at first.
Can you tell us then about where civic tech fits into blockchain, how important it is to it? Because I think a lot of people will struggle to see the applications of it beyond investing in cryptocurrencies, for instance.
The role of a lot of crypto foundations today is they are trying to preserve the democratized access and representation among all players in the network. We also have seen a lot of people actually use a lot of what is happening in crypto for civic activism, right? Like Constitution DAO is a great example where people very much wanted something like the Constitution to have co-ownership in the hands of multiple versus necessarily one singular owner. And so there's a lot of questions around who owns power, who has access to power. Should it be split among a community, or should it be necessarily centralized in the hands of a few? And that happens not only in places like Congress, but also in the web today. Often we don't have necessarily the diverse representation in both government, but also in Web3, I argue, that way that we talk about it. We still have a lot of representation from Western countries, and that's something that we're trying to do at the foundation, is really think about diversity at large, hiring from across different continents, but also engaging different communities in areas all around the world, because we can't build a decentralized file storage network without different people all around the world coming together and participating with us.
And let's talk about Phil Singapore 22. It's coming up shortly. How vital is it that conversations about things like civic tech are taking place in these sorts of environments, and in Asia in particular? And what's unique about it that's vital to the broader conversations that are happening across the globe?
Yeah, from a standpoint of just diversity, we obviously know a lot of blockchain and crypto mining happens in Asia. There's a lot of investors there. Asia has always been very early in the blockchain train. I think for us, our goal with this conference is really bridging East with West, right? And so there's a lot of innovation that's happening in Asia that we want to be able to be there to capture, but vice versa, we would love to be able to bring some of the values that we have in our ecosystem over. And we also have a huge community of existing Filecoin partners and supporters that are in Asia that we want to show up for. There's definitely some challenges, right? Asia is so diverse that even with this conference, we're thinking about making sure everyone can access and even understand what is being said, because we're going to draw partners from all around the world. But we're going to also have such a diversity of different side events. We have over 20 side events taking place, and this is our biggest Asia gathering in real life since our network launch.
All right, Thanks for that, Clara. That was Clara Tsao from the Filecoin Foundation. We'll be hearing a lot more from Clara and others at the organisation as we get closer to Phil Singapore 22. That kicks off on September 26th. You can watch it all right here on Forkast.